Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We are back. Another episode of the Insight NFL podcast. And I'm sure all of you are as happy as I am to see our main man, Mav's face back on the screen here again. Mav, how are you feeling after going incognito overseas, mate?
Yeah, went out to bloody Thailand and Vietnam, 35 degrees every day, which was quite nice. A few massages. I wouldn't probably compare myself to Deshaun Watson, but maybe Justin Tucker. But also, anyway, we'll see. But it was awesome, man. It was a great time, bloody hot. And then come back here and it's down in Melbourne anyway. It's bloody 15, 16 degrees every day. And my body's in shock horror that's so cold. And now I've got a bit of a cold. So it's probably why I sound a bit average, but that's also probably normal anyway. So, anyway. But we're back.
Yeah, he's back. That's the price you pay for joining elite company with Justin Tucker with all those massages, mate. You just can't have it all.
Yeah, no, I couldn't get onto the Sean Watson levels, but that's on the extremities.
Something to aim for. But we're going to jump straight into it tonight, guys. We're going to be running through our first redraft mock for the season. Very early, the voluntary OTAs have only just started, and we're still a good 3 months away from the start of the NFL season, but still good to get a bit of a look in terms of redraft and start to give you guys a little bit of an insight on the ADPs or, who we kind of think are values in this format. We're going to be running a Super-flex 12-team half-PPR mock, and this is based on start 9 for your roster. I'll just quickly run through the roster settings here for our audio listeners. QB and Super-flex spots, we've got 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, a tight end, and then 2 flex as well. But before we jump into this mock, got a little bit ahead of myself here. In terms of news for the NFL, there's not really too much going on with voluntary OTAs as the hype is well and truly starting to build up for rookies in particular. I saw Shedeur Sanders, the guy that we kept harping on about when is he going to get picked during our draft watch along a couple of weeks ago. He's showing out. It's only OTAs, doesn't really mean too much, but he went 13 for 13, perfect 100% completion. And the only other person to do that as a rookie during OTAs was Tom Brady. So joining elite company. Mav, does this kind of hold any weight for you at the moment, or how do you see this quarterback room play out for the Browns?
Well, it's interesting because it could be a bit of a QB carousel throughout the year. I mean, Joe Flacco has been taking the first team reps as well. So, no one really knows what's going to happen here at the Browns. But, Shedeur still has, I know we went below Dylan Gabriel, for example, in the draft, but Dylan Gabriel was a bit forgotten, to be honest, at the moment. So, which is interesting. But Shedeur still has a chip on his shoulder, which is good to see. Like, he's still talented and everything like that too. So, it'd be interesting to see what this looks like in a month, 2 months time, maybe when, sort of closer to preseason as such, and see what they roll in with. He's going to have a massive preseason. I think he'll start every game when the preseason rolls around. They're probably going to be box office to watch because of him. But I think there's a real opportunity he could start week 1. I mean, it's probably going to be Flacco, but, depending on how he plays in preseason. We saw it with Dak Prescott when he came into the league. He dominated preseason and then sort of relinquished his spot for Tony Romo. And then Tony Romo went down early and they never looked back. They said, Dak Prescott, you're the guy. And he still is the guy at the moment for him. They just paid him a big dollar. So, there could be some comparisons there. But, it's a positive start for Shedeur.
And Mav, during all of that, mate, I realised you didn't notice, I didn't mention Kenny Pickett, mate. Is he just done? He's under the bus. There's no chance for him to start.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, look, he's a backup, probably. Probably nothing more. He may get chucked in at some point too throughout the year too, depending on how they all, develop and play throughout the year. But it's really hard to gauge who's going to be the number 1 QB. We'll probably know more, as I said, in a month or two's time when we get more information. But again, Shedeur's got a real opportunity here to potentially be that number 1. But again, it's just a carousel at the moment for the Browns.
Yeah, the opportunity is well and truly there, and I know Shedeur in rookie drafts, he's kind of floating around that mid-3rd, even sometimes 4th-round pick. If he starts this year for the Browns, that could just be the steal of the draft this off season. So definitely one to follow. won't spend too much time on voluntary OTAs, but the other thing I wanted to bring up, Mav, the one thing that I'm seeing a bit of a debate on, the 49ers wide receiver room. So Brock Purdy recently signed that huge extension. He's going to be locked in with those guys for at least the next 4 or 5 years. No trade clause as well in his contract, so he's definitely going to be staying put. How do you see this wide receiver room look for the start of the year? Ayuk injured. He's probably going to be middle of the year when he comes back healthy. Deebo Samuel gone to the Commanders. So it's really out of Jennings and Pearsall, the way that I see it. How do you kind of see out of those two?
Yeah, well, Pearsall, I know it's only a mock draft, but it doesn't really matter. But Pearsall will be one that I'll be targeting tonight, more so in like later rounds and such. I don't even know what his ADP is at the moment. But at the same time, I think there's a real opportunity for Pearsall to maybe, if it's not number one, it's number two. I mean, I think Kittle's probably the number one. Well, he's not really a wide receiver as such, but number one option for a receiving player. They're saying CMC is fully healthy at the moment too, so. There's two really good options there in CMC and Kittle. Obviously, CMC with his injury history, question marks. But Pearsall would be the number one receiver that I'd be taking out of the Niners. That's if Brandon Ayuk is not ready to go for week one. But yeah, Pearsall, mate, a massive breakout opportunity here. We saw it in the back end of last year. It was fantastic. He was one that I was targeting throughout the offseason too. In our recent pods, he was potential breakout player, and I truly do believe that. So I would take him over someone like a Juwan Jennings for sure. I think he brings a bit more to the offense. I mean, Juwan Jennings is a really good player. He can take a decent amount of target share away from Pearsall, Kittle. He can get 6 to 10 targets in a game and dominate. But Pearsall has that home run ability.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Mav. I think in my eyes, Jennings is probably the more safer, stable play, but the ceiling that Pearsall has, and like you said, that back end of last year, he went berserk. So he well and truly has a connection there with Brock Purdy, and because he missed all of training camp last year after being shot, this offseason is going to go a long way for him and reestablishing himself in that offense. And 49ers, they're going to be sneaky. They're going to be a big bounce back team this year. I think a lot of people are going to sleep on them. I know looking at it, their defense isn't going to be nowhere near as what it normally is. So they're going to be in more shootouts, I think. I think there's going to be more volume on that offense, and a lot of those guys are going to eat more than what they're projected to at the moment. So, yeah, it'll be a fun one to watch, and, yeah, we just can't wait for that season to come around. It's going to be a long few months. But to jump right in, mate, let's start mocking. Let's get this ball rolling. But before we jump in, Mav, when it comes to redraft, because we've been doing a lot of dynasty content, so now it's time to switch it up. For your redrafts, what's your kind of strategy? In a super-flex? Are you quarterback early? Do you kind of want to kick it down a little bit, or do you just kind of go with the flow, see how the draft's falling?
Yeah, I'm big time to see how the draft falls and see how it sort of plays out. To be honest with you, it's sort of one of those things where I like to take the best talent available. So if that means that's going to be a QB, someone like a Lamar Jackson falls. I've got pick 3 on the board here, but if Lamar Jackson falls to 3, he's probably the guy. So I'm much more in best talent available at the right pick, because look, you can still get good QBs later in the draft. I mean, obviously you want the best, don't get me wrong, but Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, they're sort of fantasy pigs to a degree, and they go later on. So I'd take a chance on Caleb Williams at the moment too. He'd be probably going around rounds 3, rounds 4. I'm guessing. I don't know too much of the ADPs at the moment, but it's taking a risk, but high risk is high reward, right?
Yeah, exactly right. I'm about the same. I want to see how the draft falls. If a lot of people are taking quarterback early, I'm going to zag and I'm going to take my positional players. I'll start with a wide receiver hammer. If I can get Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, kind of those guys, and build around. I've been tending to go towards hero RB, so I'll just take a gun running back in the first few rounds, and then I'll kind of fill in the holes later on. I think especially with how deep this rookie running back class is, there's going to be a whole lot of values in redraft this year in that position. So, yeah, we'll see how this falls out. This will be a good one. I know I've been running a few little redraft mocks myself, but, yeah, for me, redraft season is around August, September. So this is going to be a good one to find out where everyone's going at the moment. But let's get going, mate. So yeah, we'll just run through this again. Super-flex Half-PPR 12 team start 9.
And also, we
Yep.
do have the computers as well, the CPUs jumping in
Yep.
for tonight's mock. You know, later on in the year, sort of around drafting season, sort of like August, we'll get more people in to see what it actually looks like. But this early on, we just thought we'd just pump out an episode quickly, just to see roughly where guys are falling at the moment. I mean, computers usually take best available as well at their ADPs, so you know you'll have guys that when they jump in, they will reach for their guys. But at this point, at least it gives you an indication of who's going where at the moment and where the value might lie.
Absolutely. And if you guys are watching this now and you would be keen to join us in on a mock draft later towards the season, it'll be exclusive to Patreon members first. And our Patreon for NFL, it is free. It's linked in this video below. Free to join. We're going to be dropping content. We're going to have our rookie rankings on through there as well. That'll be coming out very shortly. And you'll also have access to joining us with mock drafts live when we get closer to the year. But Mav's at the 1-3. I'm at the 1-10. We'll start this off here. Let's go. Oh, that's a bit of an interesting one. So computers are just computing. Joe Burrow going first. Usually it would probably be Josh Allen, you know, or Lamar Jackson, either way. So,
I mean, look, Joe Burrow last year, mate, if he has that sort of season again with Chase and Higgins, Jesus, I mean, look, number one's probably ambitious, but top three is a genuine chance.
yeah,
So yeah, in this case, mate, obviously I'm going to take Josh Allen falling here at pick 3. Again, who knows what this offense is going to look like next year with the passing options. I mean, Josh Allen will get his fantasy scores in rushing touchdowns. So I've taken him at pick 3.
it's a great pick, mate. You're getting the best overall player at the 103. That's huge. Absolutely huge. So now my position at the 110 here. Yeah, for me, a lot of the quarterbacks are kind of falling. I can see there's a bit of a tier there. So I want to look towards my positional players. For me, it's kind of out of Saquon or CD for me. But just looking at Saquon, how many touches he got last year, I'm a little bit skeptical to see if his body's going to hold up this season coming up. I think he had over 420 touches if you also include the playoffs. So yeah, just a huge workload. And we tend to see running backs that have the most work in that year. They usually regress a little bit. So I'm going to pick up CD Lamb and build around that.
Nice pick, mate. We've taken our players just on opposite teams here, and for us,
Yep.
so.
Mate, we should have switched spots, but anyway. So I'll just read through the first round. So we had Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen picked by Mav at the 103, Jalen Hurts, Jamar Chase, Jaden Daniels, Bijan, Jefferson, Brock Bowers. I took CD at the 110. We had Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Genty, and then Neighbors to round off the start of the second. So I'm back up on the 203. And for me here, looking at the board, Amon-Ra, Puka, Brian Thomas. I am very high on Puka this year. I know Devontae's there, but I just think if he can stay healthy for the whole year, I think he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver. And that's where I'm really going to draft him here too. So I'll be taking Puka to pair of CD. And after that,
all the receivers are going now.
All the receivers. So I had Patty Mahomes at the 2-4, then Amon-Ra 2-5, Brian Thomas 2-6, Ladd McConkey 2-7, McBride 2-8, Derrick Henry 2-9, and Mav is back on the clock for his second.
Yeah. So it's always hard to get good running backs at early on. So if you don't get good running backs early on, you tend to find your Kamaras of the world who's obviously aging a little bit now, but you're getting down to David Montgomery and all that sort of stuff, and then you got the rookies. So James Cook's had a really good year. So I'm going to take the best running back available here, who I believe will be A-Chain. I don't mind CMC at that pick either, but I will take A-Chain just based off his youth. So I'll take A-Chain here, and he could be a fantasy pick next season again.
Love it. And I think the difference for me between A-Chain and CMC, it's your second pick. You don't want to get someone that's going to be injured, because if you pick someone that high and they're injured to start the year, your season is cooked right out the gate, right? So But with that being said, CMC falling at the 303, and like you mentioned earlier, the running
You done
backs
the
tend
old,
to really dry up.
you done the old little sneaky reverse there, have you?
Little sneaky reverse after you
Righto.
picked HM by you, but I will take CMC here just because the running backs are already really drying up, and CMC's upside. Yes, he's got the injury risk as I mentioned, but he could be the number one overall player. So I'm going to happily take a stab at the start of the third. But just right, but following that, we had JSN, Bo Nix, AJ Brown, Brees Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Amari Hampton, and then now back to Mav for his 310 pick.
It's just a bit of a hard one here, mate. Marvin Harrison as a number one at this point is a bit scary for my team. I don't want him to be my number one wide receiver. Well, he could be if he falls to me on my next pick. Garrett Wilson, same sort of thing. But I think, again, I'm just going to prioritize running back here. There's two good running backs here, Josh Jacobs and Kyron Williams. If I don't get them and they don't come back, again, you're sort of in a world of pain, potentially. So I'm going to pick up who I think is going to have another good year in Josh Jacobs. I think he really made it his own last year in that offense. And if he gets more goal line opportunities here, then he's going to back it up.
Yeah, I love it. And I think Josh Jacobs, he's been a little bit disrespected. He's been a bit forgotten, even though Green Bay didn't add any other running backs to that position. They've just got Marshall and Lloyd and then, scrubs after him. Why can't he repeat what he did last year? I love the pick.
Yeah, that's right. At this pick here, man, I'm going to take a bit of a risk at this point. We've got T. Higgins here. He's probably the number 2 wide receiver, who I'm going to leave behind. And I'm going to take a risk. In the 4th round, this is where you can sort of take a bit of a risk and a stab at someone. And if you scroll down a little bit, Tyreek Hill is actually still available. Albeit I do have A-Chain. But if I'm doing this mock draft, I'm probably going to go all in on the Dolphins and hope that Tua stays healthy. So I'm going Tyreek Hill as my number 1 wide receiver here. I feel like though it's better than having T. Higgins as number 2 versus number 2. You know what I mean? So
yeah, huge upside at that pick. Tyreek Hill, I think it was even last year, he was a top 5 guy. So to get him in the 4th with the upside of him being the number 1 wide receiver overall, definitely can't go wrong. But I'll just quickly read out these picks after you, Mav. So you had Josh Jacobs at your 310. It went Caleb Williams, Kyron, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson. Then your pick again, Tyreek Hill at the 4-3. T. Higgins, James Cook, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Drake May, Rashee Rice. Now I'm on the pick at my 4th. And so looking at kind of what's left on the board, I'm pretty set at wide receiver. I don't really like the guys around this range. I definitely need some help at quarterback, and there was a bit of a quarterback run, so that's kind of where I'm looking to. CJ Stroud, he's in the conversation. I think he will have a big year. I think I probably will just go with CJ Stroud. If we didn't specify on the if it's 4 or 6 point passing touchdowns. If 6 point, CJ Stroud here is great, but even in 4 point, he's still going to offer you a good floor there at least. But just I feel like his upside is kind of capped with no rushing. But those guys, they built up some more weapons for him around this offseason, so hopefully he's going to be fully guns firing. After CJ Stroud, I went Ted McMillan and Chase Brown to round out the 4th round. And then to start off the 5th, I went Sam Laporta, Brock Purdy. I'm back on the clock. And looking at it, I'm going to take a stab at running back here, and that's going to be Travion Henderson. For me, really like his outlook for the Pats, and I'm not worried about Mavs man Ramondre Stevenson to start the year. So, Mav, you're back on the clock at the 5:10. I'll just quickly read out. It went Terry McLaurin, Kenneth Walker, George Kittle, Devonta Smith, Joe Mixon, Jared Goff, and now Mavs back on the clock.
Yeah, so at this point, I'm feeling like taking another guy who's aging. There's Mike Evans who's still available. Don't get me wrong, Kamara's still available. So at this pick, I'm going to probably start drafting the 2015 All-Star team. But I'm going to take DFAB's man Devontae Adams at this pick. He's sliding. His ADP is currently at 70 in a high octane offense with Stafford under center. I feel as though this is the opportunity where I can go, Tyreek into Devontae. Again, old, but still productive at this age. So I'm going to take Devontae at this pick. I think that's good value.
Yeah, great value there. I was considering him at the 5-3, but because I had Puka, didn't really want to pair those two this early on. It's a great pick there, Matt. But after you, it went Chuba Hubbard, the 5-11, and Kamara to round round out the 5th round. And then start of the 6th, Jordan Love, Mike Evans, and now back to you.
Yeah, this one's an easy pick for me, mate. I don't like drafting this guy, to be honest, but he does have a good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad year. And he's just got a new wide receiver in George Pickens to go with CD Lamb. There's no running game at the moment there at the Cowboys. So I feel like it's going to be all on Dak. And that's who I'm picking as my QB2 in my Super-flex. So I think, again, more great value there for a guy who's a bit of a fantasy pick at times.
Yeah, love the pick. I've been trying to get Dak everywhere this offseason for my contending teams. I think his value is just way too good. I think people are going to underestimate how much production is going to fall into Dak's lap now with George Pickens, that huge playability and touchdown upside from him to pair with CD. If he's healthy, I'd be very surprised if he's not a top 8 quarterback. And yeah, to get him in the 6th, huge value. So for me, looking at the board, not really too keen on any of the wide receivers. DK Metcalf is probably in play. I like his upside now that George Pickens isn't on the team. But with how we were mentioning, running backs are kind of drying up at this point. I'm going to take a shot. Going to take one of these Fabs guys again in this class, RJ Harvey. I just said, pass catching back, 6th round. I think he could be a top 15 guy. So I'm going to take the swing. After RJ Harvey, it went Chris Olave, Zay Flowers to round out the 6th, and then Justin Fields, Jordan Addison for the first couple of picks in the 7th. Now back to me at the 7-3. And looking at the board, I'm going to push quarterback down the road a little bit more, and I'm going to take another stab. What's the roster looking like here? I'm going to take a stab at another running back, another rookie running back, Caleb Johnson. I'm just going for full upside here. I think he's going to have a great role there at the Steelers. But after that, I went DK Metcalf at the 7-4, TJ Hawkinson, George Pickens, Tyler Warren, David Montgomery, Jerry Jeudy, and then Mav back on at 7-10.
Yeah, this one's a tough one, but it's good. Some good value here still on the board. And I'm thinking this guy. Again, he's pretty old, so I'm probably going to leave James Conner alone. He's going to have to break down eventually.
Yep.
But I feel if I'm going to go to the 2015 All-Star team, I'm going to have to fully invest in the 2015 All-Star team. And I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to take Travis Kelce at tight end at this point.
Huge.
Yeah, Jesus, he's declining hard. But he finished as the QB, the tight end 10 last year, tight end 9. So, I think he'll bounce back. And I'm taking Kelce at that pick, which is a bit interesting, but it's probably the best option.
Yeah, considering what's left on the board, and you got him at there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the tight end 7, Kelce, that you're probably drafting him at his floor, I think. So yeah, good value. After that, it was Jameson Williams, James Conner, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones. Now you're back on the 8-3.
At this pick, mate, I'm going to be prioritizing running back. And at this pick, you got DeAndre Swift still there. You got Pollard that's still there. You got Brian Robinson that's still there. Which they're all pretty good running backs in themselves. You got Jalen Warren. You got Najee Harris. You got plenty of options here, but we're not really too sure who really is the guy. So I'm going to take DeAndre Swift. I think he had a pretty good end of the year last year. Again, they believe in him. Otherwise, they would have drafted a running back. He did finish as the RB18 last year. So I think he runs quite well, and I'm going to take him at round 8.
He could get some sneaky passing volume too. I know the pass catchers are very crowded, but I think Ben Johnson, he's just going to be wanting to give Caleb Williams just the easy stuff short, and DeAndre Swift's going to eat there. So good opportunity ahead. Now looking at the ADPs, because it is CPU, JJ McCarthy, Cam Wood, Bryce Young, they probably all wouldn't be available here normally. So I'm going to do the nice guy thing, and I'll take a quarterback that probably would be here. Matthew Stafford, I think well and truly in the 8th round, to pair him with Nakua, little sneaky, sexy stack there. I think he could have a huge year with Devontae and him, and hopefully he passes 30, 35 touchdowns for the year. It's come back around after Stafford. It went Cam Ward, Ayuk to round out the 8th. Then start of the 9th, Brian Robinson, Jonnu Smith, back to me on the 9th round. And Mav, I've got to do it to you here, mate. I don't know if you can see the number 1 wide receiver left here in ADP, Ricky Pearsall. Just think the upside's there, and if he does go after Ayuk, which I don't think will happen, you'd be surprised in some leagues. I'm going to take Pearsall every day of the week. So after that went Travis Etienne, Cam Scatterbo, Mark Andrews, Colson Loveland, Matthew Golden, Doc Kincaid, and back to Mav for his 9th pick.
Yeah, this pick, mate, this one was quite an easy pick for me. I think this guy's got great upside with a little bit of a stack opportunity for where my team is at. Sorry, mate, I actually didn't say Kelsey's. So it was tight end 5, tight end 6 last year. My mistake, not 10. So anyway, back to my pick. Khalil Shakir, mate, at this pick, I think he's the number 1 now at the Bills, being paid to do so, and cheeky stack with him and Josh Allen on this side. 25 years old, so my team probably needs a bit of upside, bit of youth in it. I know it's only redraft, but you do need a bit of that. So I'm going to take Shakir for a potential breakout.
I love your team, mate. Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir. I wish I took the 3 spot before we started going live, but you do it justice. But after Khalil Shakir, Emeka Egbuka, Evan Engram, that's a tight end I had my eyes on, unfortunately. Luther Burden, David Njoku, and now Mav back at the 10-3.
Tough one. But again, I'm probably going to look at wide receiver. And what I'm going to do is there's Jaden Reed, who I'm pretty down on at the moment. Calvin Ridley, I'm not too sure. He's 30 years old. Age for my team doesn't really matter, but I'm not sure on Calvin Ridley. Jacoby Myers, not sure on him anymore either. And then you got guys like Juwan Jennings, Trooper Cup, Josh Downs, Stephon Diggs at that area who are quite intriguing. I don't know when Stephon Diggs is back at this point. We'll know more soon, but he's the clear number 1 under a Drake May offense. So I think he's the guy.
And I think, Matt, I love Steph Diggs there. I think I did see they were thinking maybe week 4 he might be ready. But who knows at this point? We're still months away that he could well and truly be ready to go. I know there was a bit of news on Stephon Diggs recently partying on a boat with a mysterious substance in his hand, which is, just the NFL wide receiver thing to do. But for him to be the number 1 wide receiver for Drake May, he's going to get all the love when he's back and healthy. So good value there in the 10th round. After that, Calvin Ridley, JJ McCarthy, Jacoby Myers, Jake Reed, Josh Downs, Bryce Young, and now back to me at the 10-10. Looking at my team, I need a tight end bad, and I'm going to be taking Green Bay's Tucker Kraft. I think he's got the opportunity to be the number 1 target on that team. Even with them adding Matthew Golden, I'm not too worried about him being an alpha. Jaden Reed, like you mentioned just earlier, a little bit down on. Who knows what's going to happen there? That Green Bay room is definitely going to be one to watch during this offseason. So I'll take Tucker Kraft there. But after Tucker Kraft, I went Debo and Kyle Pitts. Then the start of the 11th, Jalen Warren, Juwan Jennings. Now I'm back on the clock. And I need a lot of wide receiver love. Just looking at my team, loaded at running back. Looking at the wide receivers, I'm going to take upside here with Trey Harris. I think he'll slot into that Quentin Johnson role really well, and he'll do a much better job than what QJ did last year. So I'm going to take the step.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't take Cooper Kupp there, man. He's really regressing at the moment. I saw it in the last 2 years. Can't stay healthy in a new offense now. So he's still good value in the round 9. Don't get me wrong, but round 11. Sorry, but it's hard to do that really.
He could just be washed, at the back end of last year, how he could be. He could just be done. So
he could be. There's every chance. I'm up here in my 11th round. I'm going to take Darnell Mooney here, man. I thought he had a really good year last year. Does it get better potentially? But 11th round upside maybe. But best receiver available in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's not much real competition. It's Drake London. He's the clear guy, but it's Mooney versus Kyle Pitts. I'm going to be on the Mooney side of that one in terms of production. So, and I think he finished wide receiver, what did he finish? It's in the 20s, I thought. Oh, no, wide receiver 31. So, yeah, great value there. And now you're back on at the 12th round.
Yeah, this one's a hard one. I think I don't like doing this, to be honest. He's in a contract year. But at this pick, I'm going to take a backup who we know is going to get used. And if Bucky Irving goes down, then Rashad White's next in line. So I'm going to take Rashad White there. He's in a contract year. So I think that's not a bad pick. He's 26, still is getting old. But again, backups, you know their role on their team because either they get used in third downs or they don't get used at all, which is fine. And when their RB1 goes down, he's now the starter.
Yeah, and we've seen what he looks like when he's the starter. He just gets everything and heavily involved in the passing game too. So good pick there. After Rashad White went Jordan Mason. I think he's going to be a good value in a lot of redrafts this year. I'm going to be targeting him like crazy. Marvin Mims, Jaden Blue, Keon Coleman, Isaiah Likely, and Dallas Goddard. And me for the 12th, looking at my team, I can kind of really go either way with how I've kind of built my roster out. At this end, at this place of the draft, I'm just going to go for pure upside. And with that, I'm going to take Kyle Williams for the New England Patriots. If Stephon Diggs does take a little while to get healthy, Kyle Williams will have all the opportunity right at the gate. So we'll see what he can do with it. After that, I went Tajay Spears, Rashid Shaheed, Jack Besh, Bretton Strange. Now back to me on the 13th. Again, I'm just shooting for the moon. And especially with the rookie class that we had for running backs, I'm going to take another stab at one and pick up Bayshall Tootin in the 13th round. But after that, goes Tank Bigsby, J.K. Dobbins, Isaac Correndo, Rashad Bateman, Zach Ertz, Christian Kirk. Now back to you, Mav, for your second last pick.
Yeah, it's a hard one, this one. I'm going to take Cedric Tillman here. I'm going to pick him. I'll tell you why. He's 25 years old. It's really just him and Jerry Jeudy at the moment. Yes, they're going to throw the ball. They're going to run the ball a lot next year. We don't know who's playing QB. But when this guy was playing last year, he had he was an X factor for him. So, your second last pick is potential upside here. He had multiple games, and I'm talking multiple games last year of double-digit fantasy scores in a row, and then he went down injured, and then just really couldn't get back to it, or couldn't get back on the field really after that, and they just shut him down. So, if he can continue that progress, he could be anything, but we just don't know who plays QB. But I'll take a risk here at the second last round.
And Matt, just before you take your next pick, I think too with Cedric Tillman, I wouldn't be surprised if David Njoku gets traded at some point during the year. I think he's in a contract year himself, and they're not going to be anywhere near going to be contending when Njoku is going to be of use. And they did draft Howard Fannin in the third round as well, another rookie tight end. So back to you for your last pick, Matt.
It's pretty wild that Tua is still available. Again, it's CPU generated, so Tua would be available. Probably not Darnold and probably not Richardson. So I'm not going to tag them because you would not expect them to be. And Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be going to the Steelers. They all won't be there if they're starting at this point in the draft. So I'm just going to take a risk here on Dylan Sampson at this point in the draft. Your last pick doesn't really matter, but he has the potential to be a possible RB1, maybe. We're not sure. I think Judkins is the guy. Don't get me wrong, but Sampson as well brings another edge to the offense as well, and he might get more touches and outperform Judkins. So I'll take a risk early on in the draft, and if he's not good enough, he can just be dropped after week one, and I'll pick someone on the waivers for some fab.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's a good point that you made there, Mav. With your last pick, you don't want to have guys that you're going to be attached to for multiple weeks of the season. You want guys that if they show some promise, you'll keep them. If the first couple of weeks they seem like duds, get rid of them, pick up another stab on the waiver, and hope for the best. So, yeah, I love that. Love that insight there. For my last pick here, I did have my eyes on Ray Davis. I think he's also another great player to pick up in this range. The contract situation with James Cook at the moment just seems so unsettling, and Ray Davis could be the guy at the gate at week one. But for my last pick, looking at who is left, don't really like anybody here. I took a tight end late, so I'm going to take Hunter Henry just to back up Tucker Kraft to pair there. But That's it there, Mav. I'll read through just the last couple of rounds for the people that are just listening in. So after my pick, Kyle Williams to 12-10, came around and took Tootin at the 13, went Bigsby, Dobbins, Guerrero, Bateman, Ertz, Kirk. You took Tillman with your second last pick, and then went Kate Otten, Pat Frymuth to round out the 13th round. Start of the 14th, Hollywood Brown, Devin Neal. Mav took Dylan Sampson at the 14-3, Austin Eckler, Xavier Leggett, Ray Davis, Rico Dowdle, Braylon Allen, Tyler Algier. I took Hunter Henry with my last pick, and then Jalen Wright, Jalen Noel. So, what are your kind of thoughts with that draft, Mav? Are you happy with your team there for the first redraft mock of the year?
Yeah, I mean, just based off being literally my first mock draft of the year, off season, whatever you want to say it. I did probably go a bit too experienced as such. So, let's say Josh Jacobs, let's say Tyreek Hill, let's say Devontae Adams, let's say Travis Kelce, those guys don't perform, then the team is in a world of pain. It really is. So ideally, you should probably take two of the four, versus all four of them. I'm always happy to take a risk on an older guy at value, but when you've got Tyreek, Devontae, Travis Kelce, and Josh Jacobs being a 27-year-old running back, so he's getting on a bit in age, it can get a bit, skeptical as well. So, but yeah, all in all, man, if they do ball out, then this team is looking pretty good on paper. Devontae, I really like his situation there at the Rams. Obviously we saw Josh Jacobs, what he did. Shakir as well, I really like it, that pick at the round 9. I think there's a true breakout potential there for Shakir. I think he's the clear number 1 now. And again, they could have gone and drafted a top receiver or signed one in the offseason. They didn't. So Shakir's the guy. Stephon Diggs on my side, who, again, I'm not sure when he comes back, but again, probably is the number 1, tied to Drake May, who looked really good with average receivers last year. So if he can even be half of what he was, he's just a bench piece on my team at this current point in time. So again, I'm not too attached to Stephon Diggs. I'm happy for him to be crap and drop him to the waiver wire. It doesn't really bother me. But again, it's like value at the 10 there. So Darnell Mooney, again, just another complimentary piece. Number 2, had a really good year. Can help in bye weeks when he's balling out too. So Penix might be at least he's not going to be getting his own ball on the ground. He'll be flinging it around. So that's a bit of a positive for all involved. Rashad White, obviously backup running back to Bucky Irving, but he'll probably see about 25-30% of snaps, probably a bit more, and then obviously third down touches as well. And then Tillman and Sampson to round out the list. But mate, honestly, the bottom sort of 3 players I'm not too worried about. Again, you can't get tied down to your last 3 picks on your list, I reckon, because we all know when week 1 comes around, there's always these guys that you don't expect that comes out and balls out, and you need to spend some fab on them. So it happens every year. And I truly believe if you don't secure these guys in the first, second, in weeks 1 or weeks 2, then you've missed out on the potential beauty as well. So all in all, man, I was pretty happy with my side. But yeah, again, pretty old.
Honestly, Matt, I love your team. I think your team, just looking at it, I know the rest of the CPUs. I think I would rather take yours over mine. I'm very high on Devontae. Tyreek Hill is a big question mark. But if he gets traded, which I don't think is completely out of ordinary for the Dolphins, if he goes to a contender and he slots in there, I think his ceiling could just be absolutely through the roof. But health is going to play the part. But just how you built, you've got an absolute stud in Josh Allen at your QB1. He's just going to provide such a good base for your team. And I think all in all, just comparing yours to mine, I wish I kind of went more, had a better quarterback early. Relying on CJ Stroud to be my QB1 feels a little bit iffy. But with that being said, that's just the price you pay. I wanted to go running back heavy. I know running backs can get injured throughout the year, and you can never have enough of those guys. But looking at my team, so CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey, CJ Stroud, Trey Henderson, RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson, Matt Stafford, Ricky Pearsall, Tucker Kraft, Trey Harris, Cole Williams, Tootin, and then Hunter Henry. Just looking at it, I know with a lot of my teams, I want to build around stud wide receivers or running backs that could just carry weeks. So I took that there with CD and Puka. I expect both of those guys to be top 5. To be completely honest, I think CD is just going to have such a big year. I think he's going to finish higher than Justin Jefferson. I think the JJ McCarthy experience is going to be the difference between those guys and how many passing touchdowns early quarterbacks tend to throw. Really not as much. I think Dak Prescott, he'll finish way higher than JJ this year anyhow. So really love CD. But all in all, I think this year is just going to be so many rookie running backs taken early. And we're going to have, I think you usually tend to see 2 rookie running backs in the top 24 of a year. I think we're going to have more than that. I think we might even be a chance to have 5 or 6 in that 24 range. So that's going to be one to watch out for. And with my later round picks, with Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Bashan Tootin, just going for pure upside. Yeah, like Mav mentioned, at that back end of your roster, you don't really want to be tied to these guys because if they come out, they're not looking too hot, you can just get rid of them and just compete in the waiver wire and try and take another stab because you're not really relying on those guys anyhow to fill out your lineup to begin with. So even if you had as well, thing to look out for, if your league does have an IR spot, that's someone that I'd be looking in the back end of the rounds, taking a guy that's just going to be injured to start the year just to stash in that IR spot. Once you do that, you have a free space to pick someone up on waivers straight after you draft and you're playing a man ahead to start out the gate. So that's a little tip to look out for your redraft season coming up. But Mav, any final comments from you, mate, for our first redraft mock of the season?
Just to say, you did take 6 rookies in your draft, mate. So
I love the rookies this year.
Obviously, you're all in on the rookies. So that was interesting for mine. I thought that was three rookie running backs in the rounds 5, 6, and 7, all back to back picks. So that was intriguing. So you'd want to hope that these guys would be ready to go off the bat, because otherwise, if they're not, then you've got no RB2 technically. So, but they should. The opportunity's there. And then I really like receivers in CD Lamb, Puka, Pearsall, Trey Harris, and Kyle Williams. I think they're quite nice as well. So CMC obviously good value there at the 303. Don't know how you got it. Obviously, you've skewed the draft to make sure you get him.
That's what you got to do. You got to manipulate
reversal. Just don't let anyone know about it. But it's I think CMC. I think what you'll find is CMC close to the drafting season will go higher depending on how he's training and everything like that. He's too good of a player to go in the 3rd round. I think he'd find go back in the 1st round, to be honest with you. So if you're getting him in the 3rd round, that's great value. But just don't think it's going to happen when season comes around.
Yeah, if he comes around and he's healthy, his value is going to skyrocket. Just because he does have that upside to finish overall. And I think looking at it and mentioning your point, how I took a lot of rookies there, probably what I should have done in my last final picks with Tootin and Hunter Henry is try to take a running back that's a little bit more solidified, give myself a little bit more of insurance just in case any of those guys flop, and I can slot some guys in there. But just for this exercise, we only ran 14 rounds out. Your normal leagues are going to be a bit deeper than this, probably 4 or 5 more bench spots for you to play around with. But that, just kind of is going to give everyone a bit of a look on current ADPs. We will tend to do this more throughout the year once we get a little bit closer, and with hopefully you guys joining in as well. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out on our X posts that will be dropping on the Insight page. We'll be sending invites to people that are part of the Patreons for exclusivity to join these mock drafts the next time we go live and get one done. So make sure you tune in and look out for that if you want to be a part of it. But all in all, a great first mock, Mav. And I think just looking at this, I'm just so keen for the season to come around. It's going to be a long 3 months. We're well and truly past the rookie hype at the moment. But actually, speaking of that, I know you've confirmed a date for the Insight Dynasty League, our first league for with members in, that we're going to be having our rookie draft on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, we're starting Monday 9 a.m. So that'll be pretty interesting. I know Josh, the Supercoach Whisperer, who's obviously a big NRL man himself, but he's involved in that league too, and he's traded out. He made a trade on yesterday, I think it was, and got some talent in for a few picks. He did own pretty much nearly half the draft. He traded everyone out to stockpile picks for the next 3 years, and his draft hand is very, very good. And now he's just acquired 2 really good players for a couple of picks. So, 3 picks I think it was actually. So in the end, I think he did really well in that trade. But yeah, we're in on Monday, mate. I've got 1 pick in the first round, so that will be where my excitement is. But it should be great, man. It's good to get that league up and about for another year.
And you're just the hero, Mav, timing it perfectly. Everyone's going to be having the Monday blues, but then bang, it's going to say draft time start in 10 minutes, and then we're up and about. We're celebrating. It'd be a good one to watch, and I think afterwards we might even recap a little bit. Maybe pull that up on the next show. Just kind of go through how that rookie draft played out with us involved in that league and what we kind of liked about it. But all in all, that'll really wrap it up for us for this week, guys. Thanks heaps for tuning in. Again, if you like what you see, please show us some love. The best free way to support the show and us here is to just like the videos, throw a comment in here, let us know what you think of the mock drafts. Please feel free to give us a nice 5-star review on the podcasting platform that you're listening to us on. And also, if you are keen, we've got a free Patreon, and we will have exclusivity for people joining mock drafts with us if you are a Patreon member, and that link is in the comments below. So, any final comments from you, Mav?
No, you've pretty much summed it up pretty well. But it's good to be back in, and I think we're under 100 days now till the season starts. We're heading into June next week, or was it on the weekend? It was Monday. No, it's Sunday. Sunday is the 1st of June. So, it's probably 1 month away from it really. Once we hit July, mid-July, end July, it's probably when it starts ramping up a lot. So. It won't be long until full focus is on NFL drafting season as such, and I'm just really keen just to more so when the season comes around, just pumping out more and more content just to see if anyone can get in a bit of an advantage with a one-up on their team, because there's guys who love to cram information at the last minute. So we'll be pumping out episodes when we're closer to the date, I suppose. We'll nearly go live not live, but dropping content nearly every night. So it should be good.
Yeah, definitely something to look forward to. We'll be ramping up the closer we get. So that'll do us for tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. We'll catch you next week. Peace out.